From Provo, Utah, this is the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast with your hosts, Joseph DeGolier and Caleb Schweiss. This is Ultima Final Fantasy. Welcome to another episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate
Final Fantasy Podcast.
Hey, you're cutting in on my intro, Caleb. It's not cool.
You were really waiting?
Yeah, I was gonna do it, jackass.
Oh, well, I didn't expect it. I thought you just wanted me to do the second part.
No. That was the finger I put up wasn't a go, it was a pause.
It's the same
As
finger.
in wait. No, a go will be like...
Well, now you're giving me another finger. That's not
That's
nice.
true. Oh, it's just how I feel, Caleb.
Well, that's unfortunate.
So, as you guys know, today is our best of 2014 episode, the UFF Podcast Awards. Are you ready for those, Caleb?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You're ready?
Yeah.
Are you sad about some of the results?
Yeah. It's okay, though. It's okay. We'll,
The people have spoken.
Sure.
The people have spoken.
Yes.
And
or
we
at least
get-
one person spoke a
This
lot.
is the ultimate... Shut up. This is... Shh. This is our Oscars, okay? This is the
Yes.
Ultima Final Fantasy Oscars. This is where we congratulate ourselves for the job that we did.
Kind of. But we're also going to congratulate you guys for
true.
the jobs that you do.
Yep, so stay tuned for that. We are, however, going to treat this like a regular episode. So first we have reviews.
Oh no, we don't have reviews.
Oh shit, we don't. That's right. Well, guys, leave us a review and we'll be able to read it next week. So whoever hasn't done a review on iTunes yet, if you've just been waiting for the chance, now's the chance. We haven't had a review in a couple weeks now, so
Yeah,
it's a good time. It's a good time. If you're Canadian, United Kingdom, US, if you're outside of that area, then give us an email telling us that you left a review and what territory we should look you up in iTunes.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
there's a lot in iTunes. So
There's a lot of countries
there are numerous countries out there.
for us to look through, and we can't really see them all. So, anyway, thank you guys who have left reviews, and I just want to say a special thank you. During this Christmas break, we've had many, Merry Christmases from our listeners, and some listeners have given us games on Steam, and some have supported us via PayPal, which was very nice. And then I think you got a Christmas card and also the select tracks from Theater Rhythm.
We got a Christmas card.
That was for both of us?
Yeah, it was UFF family.
Nice. Thank you very much to those who did that. And a Merry Christmas to you all.
Yeah. Now that it's the third.
Yes. All right. We got some news, Schweiss. Not much, but we do have some news.
We do. Let us get to that. All right, so first up in news, we've got Final Fantasy Explorers reviews coming in from Japanese Amazon users.
Oh, okay.
I mean, since it's only released in Japan right now.
So how are those Amazon reviews looking?
Not that great.
Not that great?
No, apparently a lot of people really enjoy the main part of the game, but then afterwards, I guess there's like extra bosses, or you can go back and fight them or something, but the distance between those is just sick. Like, people have joked about it being Final Fantasy XI-esque.
Oh,
where it's
that
just,
is a long walk.
Yeah, and I don't know. They were kind of expecting something more along the lines of Monster Hunter, but it's kind of different. None of the reviews that I saw really alluded to how, and since we can't play it, we have no idea how. But
Okay.
it wasn't what they were expecting, and there's a lot of walk.
So is Square Enix going to do anything about it?
There has been talk of a patch, but they haven't really.
I guess Square Enix is
confirmed
happy with
anything.
11, so.
Yeah, and I
Walk,
don't know.
damn it.
Yeah,
It's good for you.
it is. It's good for your finger to hold
walk
that.
in the digital realm.
Yeah. Maybe once you watch enough walking in the digital world, you can learn how to do it.
You'll be like, God, I'm just going to do it myself.
Yeah. The W key will just never be unlifted or unpressed. Oh, man. So, yeah, we'll have to see how that goes if they ever do bring it to us.
Still don't know.
Don't know yet, but we'll let you know.
We
when
will.
We know.
And you'll probably let us know, and we'll be like, God damn it, why'd you tell us?
Yeah.
Actually, no, that'd be nice if you could give us news sources. It helps us out a little bit. All right, so another piece of news, Final Fantasy XIV news, as far as its last patch in this current patch cycle, before, of course, the expansion Heavensward. Patch 2.5, entitled Before the Fall, is not only a super ominous title, but is also a patch of epic proportions. How would you feel if your last patch was called Before the Fall, right before the expansion, like the new version of 14 comes?
Well, I'd be more concerned because there's so much writing on Final Fantasy 15, and then that's what they title the 14 expansion, Before the Fall. Yeah. Will we get up? Stay tuned.
Well, it's suggesting that there's going to be some kind of a fall.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm just being facetious.
Yeah, and we have no idea what the story for 14 is really.
If you'll let me, I'm going to read Square Enix's official post on this. I was going to quote a news site, and then I was like, I'll go to the source.
Yeah.
So I went to FinalFantasy14.com or whatever it is. It says, Part 1 of Before the Fall is scheduled for the mid to end of January, with the release of Patch 2.5, which contains myriad challenges for adventures of every persuasion. The patch will include roughly 2/3 of the final main scenario quests, 3 new dungeons, and the conclusion of the Crystal Tower questline and the World of Darkness. The patch will also feature the adventures of Hildibrandâagent of Enquiry, Inspector Extraordinaire on his latest and perhaps final investigation, a new battle against Odin, the Dark Divinity of legend, in Urth's Fount, new gear for gatherers and crafters, numerous new recipes, and more. We will have plenty planned to make this patch a befitting prelude to the end of the 2.x storyline. There will be much to do in Patch 2.5, and before we bombard you with more in Part 2, we'll be offering players a change of pace with Patch 2.51, which focuses on the introduction of the Gold Saucer. Ooh, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It bears mentioning, however, that the establishment is known as the Manderville Gold Saucer in Eorzea. You'll have to check it out for yourself to figure out where this monkeyer came from, including chocobo racing, chocobo breeding, and the return of the FF card game.
Oh, God.
Are you ready? Triple Triad!
No!
You can look forward to a fun and relaxing time in the Gold Saucer. Part 2 of Before the Fall is scheduled for the end of March, closing the curtain on the story that brought about the rebirth of Eorzea. What trials and tribulations await the Warriors of Light? What drastic turn of events will grant passage to the reclusive nation of Ishgard? Only time will tell. Or the new patch.
Yeah. How do you feel about that Triple Triad?
I think Triple Triad's okay in Final Fantasy, and we'll talk about it more when we get to our review. I don't have anything against Triple Triad. It's certainly useful for the junctioning system.
I just use my cards to create items, so I was like, fuck the card game.
Well, yeah, and you can play the card game, get better cards to get those items, though.
Or I could just harvest the ones I have and say, piss off to all these weird... everyone plays.
I say hidden draw points for the hidden draw points for the win.
Yeah,
honestly,
I agree. I mean,
instead of playing the
well,
card
I
game.
did do something awesome with one of the cards. Created like 100 mega elixirs. So I'll do that every time I play that game.
All right, so we got some Final Fantasy 15 news, and I'll do the first part here.
Oh, okay.
This is according to Gamer Annex, or Gamer Annex. I'm not sure how to say that. Final Fantasy XV, the lead designer named Juan Hasmer shared some new detail regarding the game in a panel named History of and Future of Final Fantasy. Juan stressed the importance of camping periodically in Final Fantasy XV. Basically, camping is when you have an opportunity to power yourself up using food you can prepare using different ingredients.
Oh, so not to be confused with like camping in a shooter where you just kind of stand where the enemies spawn. And just...
Right.
Oh, okay. That's good. Okay.
I think it's supposed to be a little bit closer to like actual camping.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sweet. So you like don't crap for a few days and.
You really do that?
Yeah, I wait. I rough it, man.
Okay, so I went on a river trip on the Green River here in Utah. Mm-hmm. A 4-day trip on canoes. And there was a guy with us. This was for Boy Scouts. There was a guy with us. His name is Chevy. And he didn't crap the entire time. It was 4 days.
Wow. That's a long time.
He would just refuse. We had a poop tent with like a makeshift toilet with like a trash bag, and then you like, you tie up your part of the bag and just yeah. And it was okay. Like it wasn't bad, and it wasn't like you're out in the open or whatever.
You just refuse.
Because I get why you would like get shy out there. I mean, I go camping a lot, or at least I did at the time, and it didn't bug me. I don't have enough time to go camping now. I wish I did.
Yeah.
Do a Klondike this year, Caleb? It's freezing cold out there. Let's go up in the Uentas.
It's going to be like the end scene in The Shining. Our faces are going to be all frozen. It's both of us. Next to a fire that's still going.
Yeah, I could do that.
So he roughed it the whole time, man.
He did
crazy.
it the entire time.
Well, this is kind of cool with the camping thing. I mean, it brings back tents.
Yeah, but how realistic is camping? I mean, are you gonna have to bring a shovel and crap out behind a bush?
I don't know of really many games that have made it that realistic.
Like, oh crap, we forgot to get toilet paper, and then you have to like find leaves that won't be itchy. And...
Yeah.
I've never actually had that experience, but
you get
it sounds
poison.
Frightening.
Yeah, that'd be too much.
Oh man. These effects gradually decrease in time, giving you the incentive to camp again. An incentive to camp is experience. While you earn experience through the game, you can only cash in that experience and level up at camp.
Oh, okay.
That's interesting.
I think they had that in Oblivion. No, there was some game, I can't remember what it was, but there was a game where you had to sleep and then you would be able to spend your level up points. It might have been that. So it's kind of cool.
Okay, and this is another interesting part of that. That's kind of weird to me. I wonder how that's going to play out. But this seems a little bit more basic. The game will now have a 60-minute day-night cycle. 40 minutes of that will be daytime and 20 minutes night. The doubling of a day from 30 to 60 implies that there are some tasks that will take you a considerable amount of time to accomplish. So, do you have time limits as far as quests?
I don't know.
That's kind of what it's implying to me. I'm not sure how you read that.
Yeah, or maybe it would be a super pain in the ass at night, so we're going to give you a longer day.
Okay.
Could be something like that. I don't know.
All right, so another part of the news, Caleb?
Yeah, there was a recent interview between Famitsu and Hajime Tabata. And
what a wonderful name. I mean, really.
It is a good name. So, I guess they're trying to make a more realistic a more realistic fuel for the car, and this is something everyone's freaking out about.
Dude, gas is so cheap right now.
It is. It's awesome.
Oh, it's amazing. It's the price that it used to be when we were in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So they're trying to make it more realistic as far as the game's dimension.
I can fill up my car with $23.
Well, your car's tiny though.
You don't feel how good that feels? I know it's tiny, but like that's used to be how much I would get like a 20. It would like almost fill it up.
Yeah. When I first got my car, that was how much mine took. And mine's like 16 gallons.
It was so nice. I remember I was freaking out when it was like 280, but now it's like 211.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, it's beautiful. Sorry, tangent. I know.
So the game's dimensions will feel more realistic, I guess. They're trying to really work on that.
Okay.
The town that we saw, you remember the town with the bazaar that looked kind of like the area in 12?
Sure, yeah.
Well, apparently that's based on a town, I guess just the Bahamas. The culture and the look of the town is based on that region.
Huh.
So that's kind of cool.
That's interesting.
And we'll be able to talk with NPCs in the game, and they'll react accordingly to, a prince walking around. And apparently there was like a lot of boob jiggle for Sid at one point. I don't remember seeing anything in the trailer. Do you?
No, there wasn't anything.
So maybe it's something in
the trailer.
development.
There might have been. I know they're releasing a lot of videos where like they're going out and kind of playing around where they are, and I know there's a longer Sid one, Sydney,
yeah,
yeah, or Cindy. I remember there's some confusion about that somewhere.
Oh,
which should be Sydney.
Yeah, it should. So apparently they're messing with that.
She does have a large rack.
She does. They're trying to make it not jiggle like crazy, which is good because
Mortal Kombat style.
Yeah, then it just doesn't feel real.
You're just distracted. Honestly, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like that part in 7 on the airship when the weapons.
Yeah, and Tifa gets down, and then it's like the gravity just like.
Yeah, I'm like, jeez.
Takes it.
I can't even concentrate on the rest of the scene now. It's like brutal.
All right, and so the last piece of 15 news, Square Enix. Everybody's kind of freaking out about this because people are unsure what's going on, but Square Enix released a job title or
job posting,
on a website, and basically it's for an online development manager, and it's related to Final Fantasy 15. It's kind of vague. Anyway, they're just there to be a supervisor on projects, proposals, and whole bunch of other stuff that has to do with this new online experience that Final Fantasy 15 is related to. And they needed some desirable skills that they asked for: online management, game production around billing, and then management experience and game knowledge of system design and PC game interests. And play experience with those PC games. So some people are like, oh, Final Fantasy 15 might be coming to PC.
Yeah.
I don't think that's actually the case. There might be some online aspects to 15 that we might see. And there could be a Final Fantasy 15 spinoff that they're planning that's online.
It could be, yeah. I don't think this is anything related to 15 on PC. Because the whole online aspect of the job posting throws that out the window, essentially. Unless 15 is going to have an online aspect, in which case it could just be for the consoles,
Sure.
So I don't know. We'll have to wait for more.
It's really vague, and they're not going to release any more information on that job.
Yeah, of course. Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's not a big deal to them. Of course, other news sites like, 15 to PC, like right off the bat. And I'm like, yeah. Okay, let's look.
It's a lot more vague and a lot less concrete than that.
Yeah, I was excited. I was like, ooh, might not have to buy a PS4. And then we translated it, and I was like,
I had to buy one anyway for Type 0.
Gonna have to buy a PS4. Yeah, but we don't have to play Type 0 for a while.
That's true.
See?
A long while. I have all the Crystal Chronicle games now, and then I just ordered the Desadia games. I have to buy a Wii and a DS, though.
Yeah.
So, support us on Patreon.
Yeah, we'll have to,
and feel free to click the PayPal button on the site ultimafinalfantasy.com.
Yeah, we might have to tailor our spinoffs by what ones we can play.
Maybe
we'll see,
we're quite far off, and I've decided that
numbered game wise, no, but hours within games, yes.
I've decided that I'm just gonna every couple weeks I'll try to buy a couple Final Fantasies.
Kind of lessen the blow.
Yeah, and then with my tax return, I got to get an HD television. And hopefully I'll have some money left over and get a PS4.
Yeah, other Caleb had the sweet giant TV.
He did, and then he moved out.
Yeah.
So
now that he lives with me, now I have the sweet giant TV.
In his room.
Yeah, in Craig's room. I was like...
His TV isn't even as giant as his old TV that broke.
No.
It
isn't. I know.
It's a sad day.
It's still huge, though. I mean, in his room, it looks ridiculous.
All right. So, Caleb, we got some awards to fill out. And I just want to say real quick before we get to that, For those of you who watch us on YouTube and are waiting for the behind-the-scenes video, we didn't decide to do it today because the following segment or section is going to require a lot of post-editing. So, sorry about that. You'll get the full episode on YouTube, though.
Yeah, so you won't have to listen to all the banter in between, which can be fun, but...
we're going to try to keep it to a minimum today anyway. So
yes.
All right, let's get to it.
Let's do it.
Welcome to the 2014 UFF Podcast Awards, hosted by Joseph DeGaulier and
Caleb Schweiss.
The first category, Best Parody Song. The nominees are
Tactics You Might Need, The Question Segment, News, Did You Know, Spot the FF, Hajime Tabata.
And the winner is... Oh.
A tie.
It's a tie.
Between those?
Okay, it's a tie between Tactics You Might Need and News.
But wait, we have someone here.
We do have someone here. Someone who doesn't listen to the podcast.
Dun, dun, dun.
We had them come over and listen to the two that tied, and he's going to decide right now who the winner is. Cameron, will you please tell us who the winner is?
After much deliberation and Joe's golden vocals, I have to pick Tactics You Might Need.
Tactics You Might Need. Thank you very much, Cameron. I gotta say that Tactics You Might Need was not an easy song to get made for this podcast, Caleb. And I appreciate all the votes, and especially Cameron's, for Tactics You Might Need, since it was something I had to work much harder on than News.
Yeah.
But I know that you don't like Tactics You Might Need, Caleb.
Yeah, not really.
Not really? Why is that?
I like the other ones more because they're actual Final Fantasy song parodies of sorts.
Well, you can just shut the fuck up, because the people have spoken. Tactics You Might Need is the winner. I wanted to make a toxic parody for so long, and this was the one that finally came up. This was the one that allowed me to use my creativity and my guitar skills and cover Toxic, but with a Final Fantasy spin.
Fountain of Creativity cover song.
And I just want to thank you guys, all who voted for that special song, despite the fact that Caleb hates its guts.
I don't hate it. I just think the other ones are all better.
You think News is better?
Well, no.
Okay.
I think Hajime Tabata is better. Although I did write it.
That's probably why.
No, I just think
actually
it's
no.
fine.
I think Hajime Tabata should have won, and it got third place after the tie. So, you know,
there you go. You're famous for your cover song. How's it feel?
I just feel like a little bit like Alien Ant Farm right now.
I was gonna reference that. Yeah. Nice.
All right, our next category: Best Original Song, and the nominees are.
Opening theme, original.
Final Fantasy Podcast.
Opening theme, version 2.
Final Fantasy.
Super sexy swingin' fan fiction, UFF podcast version. Super sexy swingin' fan fiction, super sexy swingin' fan fiction version.
And the winner is.
Super sexy swinging fan fiction, super sexy swinging fan fiction version. God!
Woo!
Nice. That was, yeah, that's what I meant.
So this is the one that we both worked on quite a bit, I'd say. Like, you were at the computer working on your stuff, and I was on the guitars.
Yeah, that's one thing I can't put forth.
Anyway, so we worked on that, and we both had vocals for that. I remember that. It was like, we got together. I did the guitar thing because I got a wah-wah pedal the day before, and so I was playing around with that, and I was like, oh, okay, I could make a new theme song for this new podcast we're having. And so we did the backing track, and then, of course, I had me and you, we both did, sexy voice kind of things. There were certain phrases that we were supposed to say, and we did both an outro and an intro. And then I had my friend Natalia come over, and it took 2 hours to convince her to do like a sexy voice and say the things that we needed her to say. And it was really annoying, but we did eventually get it done. So I want to thank Natalia and you, Caleb, and myself.
Well,
and thank God, I thought the original opening theme was going to win this one.
yeah.
I was like, for a while, it was in the front, and I was like, do people realize what the original one is? Like, it's the one that sounds really crappy and tinny and has no drums.
Yeah,
You know.
it's not as musical.
It's not as polished, so I
No.
felt kind of crappy about it.
Yeah.
All right, Caleb, you want to announce the next category?
Yeah. The next category is Best Impersonation. The nominees are
Caleb Schweiss as Dave Mustaine as Mog.
and
Kubo is a sacred word. It's how we communicate.
Joseph DeGaulier as Lauren from Final Fantasy Union.
I woke up,
Right.
took a shower,
Uh-huh.
and the winner is Caleb Schweiss as Dave Mustaine as Mog.
Good afternoon.
Congratulations, Caleb.
Yeah, thanks.
smiled.
So
What
I may
brings you to
have
our
the
humble
second
cave
best
today?
Mustaine impersonation out of the two of us, which is
I
last,
see.
but also second place.
They seem to
But-
understand everything you said. What are you talking about? Second place? You just got first place.
Well, no, second place in my opinion, but I'm the only one that's actually used it on the.
Kubo is a sacred
I've used it
word.
shortly,
It's
but
how
not
we
enough to be
communicate.
really a
If you
nominee.
can't communicate the way we do,
And it might have been in the
sounds like
behind the
Kubo
scenes. I'm
to
not even sure if
you.
any of that come out on the podcast.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
mean, I got a Dave Mustaine impersonation, but so do you.
It's true. So, yeah, thanks for the nomination. Thanks for this award. It means a lot to me. I put about 3 seconds of preparation into that, and I gotta say, I'm honored.
All right, Caleb, would you like to announce the next category also?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the next award is for Best Rant.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now, we did have some disputes. I mean, Shinru on the forum, he said that our episode on Type 0, where we kind of went off pretty much half the episode about Type 0 not being released here and how Square Enix, should release their games here because they'd make more money.
Yeah.
He thought that was a good one for Best Rant. I looked at it and I didn't feel like it was necessarily one long rant, though. Like, I couldn't find one section that was really, like, angry and, out there. So, that's kind of like, if you guys want to check that out, that's cool, but it wasn't nominated. The nominations are
Kanzen Lingo from Joe and Caleb.
guy cannot stop.
Crossing the Line from Joe and Caleb.
Christ, that was close. I was like,
Cloud in Wheelchair from Other Caleb.
loud, prominent, and just
And Female Host from Joe.
is really the only guy that's in that.
And the winner is...
He just says Female Host from Joe. And the thing is with the other show,
I want to offer an apology to Final Fantasy Union.
it's probably too late for that. But go ahead.
Might be.
is really the only guy that's in that podcast.
Yeah, she just
I had just listened to an interview the day before we recorded that episode, and it was something that about halfway through the interview I started to notice. I started to notice that she would say, okay, yeah, in between everything the other person was saying. And although that's something you want to do in person if you're talking to someone, if you're on a mic, it's gonna come out as distracting.
Yeah, I mean, it's implied that you and I hear and are speaking to each other. We don't have to say right. I mean, I say right sometimes,
You
but it's
can-
not like that.
You can nod your head in the room.
You can, yeah.
Okay. And sometimes we do say it. And there's certainly a lot of things that Final Fantasy Union or our listeners could find annoying about the way that we talk through our episodes. So I guess it's not really that fair to go off on her, but, we are their competition, so naturally we feel competitive with them.
True, and our fans have chosen.
Our fans have chosen.
And maybe some of their, well, probably not some of theirs for that one. But you never know. Maybe they feel the same way.
Okay.
The next category is Worst Episode. Oh, God. And the nominees are...
Casting Haste on Aerith, member of Tantalus.
So you got the cheese, the meat.
Final Fantasy XV predictions and super sexy swingin' fanfiction 1.
What the fuck makes games realistic?
Yeah, it's
Ever.
not
Religion in Final Fantasy.
organized religion stance. We do see a lot of positive...
Final
things.
Fantasy 1.
All right, welcome to episode 1
And the
of
winner
the
is-
Ultima.
Final Fantasy 15 predictions and super sexy swinging fanfiction 1.
Anime and a lot of
For
So-
an overall negative attitude.
Who's
But let me tell
we
you
think?
something.
That's what we've gotten
If
complaints
you're
on this episode.
Not tone deaf.
I do believe it
Japanese
was my
pop should
idea.
offend you for the most part.
I do believe I
am
planned that
tone deaf,
episode.
and it still does.
Yeah, but I think it was my
Well,
negativity that brought it down.
They
Well, no, we were
shouldn't have
both kinda
singers that
negative.
can't hit a note.
I think so. I think we feed off each other whenever we
It can
get
be that
negative.
way.
Um,
It wasn't really that bad. I
hopefully the
enjoyed
Final
it.
Fantasy 15 predictions weren't something that was way off or uncalled for, but maybe the negative attitudes surrounding some of the things that annoy us in the games, J-pop, I think we talk about in that episode, which
Yeah.
does annoy our listeners when we talk about it and hate on it. And then, man, what else did we hate on in that episode?
I don't even remember.
I don't
I've
remember.
I've listened to it recently, and I felt like it was okay.
It was
but-
okay, yeah.
You
I
know.
didn't think it was the worst. Personally, I think Final Fantasy 1 was the worst episode, but it got the least amount of votes.
Yeah,
on
well,
this.
it wasn't a bad topic, so that's why it was least. I
Maybe,
think.
but when I listen to it, I'm like, oh god, we need to speak faster. You know, stuff like that. And then
Yeah.
also the sound quality is just...
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely matured as hosts.
I
but-
think so.
But yeah, I guess I wasn't surprised that one won. I mean, a lot of people
Won or lost, really, the way you look
yeah,
at
it depends on But I kind of felt the cooking episode, the casting haste on Aerith, member of Tantalus, just because
Yeah, but I listened to that episode and I thought it was okay, too.
Right, but-
like, I've listened to all these episodes.
I wish we would have done it as was suggested, where we kind of just
where we didn't make it on the
as we were-
microphones.
we just kind of had a review of it as we do with the games,
Yeah.
which would have been cool. But
I kind of blame some of that on how tired I was that day.
yeah, we didn't even.
Because I
think
was
of
like, it was hard to talk while doing the cooking. I just felt like I wasn't on top of my game on that day.
Yeah, maybe that's how I felt.
But
also.
15 prediction, I thought I was, but
Yeah,
guess we were wrong.
guess so.
Okay, so now we're getting to the big awards.
Yeah,
The big awards.
yeah, like best director,
Kind of.
kind of big.
Best actor, probably.
Best okay, best
I don't know,
actor.
somewhere in there. The next category is Best Episode. The nominations are Spotlight, Hironobu
One that he became vice
Sakaguchi,
president of Square.
Final
I
Fantasy
I was in
3,
the middle of fighting the final boss.
Final
It just makes it
Fantasy
kind of odd if you're
5.
listening to it, especially because these characters.
Final
Every member of the
Fantasy
development team had
6.
ideas for these characters,
And the winner is Final Fantasy V.
Why
Sakaguchi
5?
And Yoshinori Kitase.
I don't know.
I don't know. Well, I mean,
apparently came up
Probably
with
because we were so
constructed
surprised
story.
on how good it was.
well, I think Final Fantasy.
The game itself.
No, Final Fantasy IV was the episode
think
where
part
we
of the
finally hit
reason-
our
and
stride
there's
and
been
we
some
became what
explanation
we
on
are
the
now.
internet.
That's what you think. I think it was.
From, or at least not
I
explanation.
think it was the movie. I think it was Final Fantasy Spirits Within.
Well, I'm talking like our game reviews. Like since
Seems like it's
4,
so much
we've
lighter
reviewed the
and
games
tone.
very similarly and I think very well. So that's what I feel. But maybe it was Spirits Within. I don't know. But Final Fantasy V, a lot of it could have been just because it was a great game, and a lot of people, a lot of our listeners might feel the same way we do. Whereas it's underrated because it wasn't given to America or the Americas as, I guess, on time, so to speak. You know, like 6 was, we got 6. We didn't get 5. We didn't get 3. 3 wasn't that great, so 3 didn't win. But I think that might be why they chose 5. It was a good episode, but
I did too. I actually had problems with that episode personally. I thought that we compared the game to 4 way too much. Like, I felt like we should have talked about 5 by itself a little bit more. But I mean, it was fresh off of 4, and we were told many times by many people that 4 was better than 5, and both of us disagreed.
yeah.
So that became a big part of the episode that I'm not that proud of. Personally, I think Final Fantasy VI, the second place winner,
Was our best episode?
Was our best episode so far.
I think so too.
And maybe if Final Fantasy VII Part 1 and 2 was one episode, you could say that, but it's not.
Yeah, 6's review was really good, though.
6's
I enjoyed that
review was really good. I'm pretty proud of that one. And I'm pretty proud of 5, too, even though I got problems with it.
one. Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you. From me and Caleb, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Caleb. This is one... We have 2 categories here that we kind of invited a lot of people to vote on. We did let the other podcasts know. We're going to get to our quote Best Picture award here soon. We let the other podcasts know that they were nominated. And so a lot of people voted on both the Best Podcast Award and the Best in our next category.
Which happens to be Best 2014 Final Fantasy Release.
All right. A lot of people were saying that I should have put the Final Fantasy X and X-2 remaster on as far as the nominees go. There was... I wanted to do only original Final Fantasy releases that were either originally here in Japan, or there in Japan, or here in the United States for the nominees. Okay, so if it was released in Japan this year, it was nominated, and if it was released in the U.S. for the first time this year, like Lightning Returns, it was nominated.
Oh, okay. So if 10 would have never came to the States until now, it would have been nominated, but it was. So.
But we've already had 10.
Right. All right. Yeah, that makes sense.
These were original Final Fantasy releases, and I should have stipulated that, but it doesn't matter. The people have spoken.
We can do what we want.
What are the nominees, Caleb?
The nominees for Best 2014 Final Fantasy Release are Final Fantasy Explorers, Final Fantasy VII G-Bike, Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy XIII, Final Fantasy Artnix Drive, Final Fantasy Worldwide Words, Final Fantasy Agito, Theater Rhythm, Final Fantasy Curtain Call.
And the winner is...
Theater Rhythm, Final Fantasy Curtain Call.
Surprise for me.
Really?
Yeah.
You really thought 13 Lightning Returns was going to beat it?
Well, those are definitely the 2 that are out in front.
Well, yeah. Well, that and 13 is like the only real Final Fantasy.
Right. The final. I'm so surprised that the biggest game, according to the voters, this year for Final Fantasy was a game based upon the soundtracks of old games in a Guitar Hero style battle
thing
and on a handheld system. I'm really surprised by that. I thought Lightning Returns was going to win, but it did get second place. What do you think this... Like, if Square saw this, what do you think they would change about their Final Fantasy releases? I mean, they had a lot of releases, most of which were mobile games this year, but Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy being the most popular, I mean...
Well, I mean...
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
I mean, do they look and say, okay, 13 was a total failure?
Well...
And maybe we should wait a little longer between sequels?
Or just don't do...
To give people,
sequels?
To give people more time to be hyped up for a new sequel, I think.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm negative on sequels. I just...
Well, you've never played Lightning Returns.
No, I haven't. But 10-2 is coming, and I have
it has relatively good reviews from what I've seen.
I know 13-2 does. A lot of people really
a lot of people like 13-2 better than Lightning Returns, but 13-2 was not nominated.
No. So, yeah, I mean, we did play the demo for Curtain Call at the FanFest, and I thought it was fun. I was surprised at how cool it was. I mean, you fight monsters with Final Fantasy characters, and you have to hit button combos. It was enjoyable. I mean, I didn't see anything wrong with it, and I think the simplicity of it might be part of it, too. Like, you can actually... It's a game that you can just get into, play for a little bit, and then you don't have to, you can just set it down and do whatever for a while. It's like one of those ones that you can pick up occasionally, whereas something that's more story-based, I assume, with Lightning Returns, it's something you gotta sit down and kind of plod through and maybe Maybe that's why it wasn't as preferred. I don't know.
Maybe. Or maybe it was just played more. Maybe people just didn't get past 13.2 or something.
Perhaps, yeah. A lot of people have issues with 13, and I mean, the sales numbers have dropped off drastically from game to game.
Yeah,
into
they've
13.
dropped by like 1/3 each time.
Yeah, so I
like
mean,
Final Fantasy 13.2 had 1/3 the amount of sales as 13, and then Lightning Returns 1/3 the amount of sales as 13.2, which is sad because those games have to be expensive to make.
yeah, they definitely.
So
maybe that's it. I mean,
so Square Enix's it just didn't pay off. Their risk didn't pay off.
I'm sure Curtain Call did, though. From the looks of it.
Our next category, and the category that was opened up to the entire world. Best Final Fantasy Podcast.
Well,
And the nominees are... Wait. Before that, I gotta talk about some of the podcasts that were not nominated. We got a message on Twitter saying Chocobo Dash should have been nominated. We got a... I found another Final Fantasy podcast after the nominations were out that wasn't really tagged Final Fantasy, but it was the Caves of Narsh podcast. I do encourage our listeners to listen to other Final Fantasy podcasts. I mean, that's okay.
yeah,
As long as you're listening to us.
Yeah, you have to love us more. I mean, it's like I'm okay with my friends having friends. They just can't
Spend more time with
be
them.
better than me. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'm kidding.
And we let all the other... I followed their websites and I looked at their Twitter and we let the others know via Twitter
That they were nominated.
So Caleb. Oh yeah, I was gonna say, the Chocobo Dash podcast, and we didn't really say what the exact specifications were for our nominations.
we did
what
say
they needed to have.
podcast.
We did say podcast. And Chocobo Dash, although they have like 4 episodes on iTunes, I only looked at podcasts that were regularly putting out episodes throughout the whole year. I did make a mistake with our ARR pod.
Yeah,
but
they were active when we
They were
started.
active when I was looking at them, and I assumed that they were, but they're not actually active anymore. But they got 0 votes anyway, so screw them.
Yeah.
I only looked at active ones, and Chocobo Dash just wasn't active because all of its episodes were at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, and he did have a lot of stuff
Yeah.
on YouTube, and we actually met the guy at the Fan Fest.
Right.
I did.
He was
in
all
a
dressed up.
slightly inebriated state.
At least one of
and
the guys. I think it's
Joe less so.
It's a 2-person podcast.
Nice.
I looked at it. Well, it's not really a podcast because it's on YouTube. A podcast is something that you have to be able to subscribe to via RSS. That's what a podcast is.
Yeah, YouTube.
So that was something that was also important on our nominations. So
Perhaps we'll do something next time with YouTube and have a separate award. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
There's actually a pretty regular Final Fantasy podcast on YouTube. I keep forgetting their names though.
Yeah, so I mean,
And I let one of our members know. I just can't remember. What were the nominees, Caleb?
the nominees for Best Final Fantasy Podcast 2014 are Aetherite Radio, R-Pod, Damn Chocobo,
Damn.
Final Fantasy Union, Limit Break Radio, and Ultima Final Fantasy.
And the winner is...
Oh, Limit Break Radio!
Yes, Limit Break Radio used their power, and their listeners certainly did vote. We did get second place, though.
And we got second place by
Which is
a
nice.
lot.
Yeah, we did, so...
And kudos to Damn Chocobo for beating Union.
Yeah.
Probably feels good.
I think Union, they probably voted for themselves and then checked out our video and then realized I was making fun of Lauren.
Probably.
And so I feel kind of bad. But
If your Lauren impersonation is good enough, perhaps if the relationship goes south, he'll come to you. You're like, Lauren left. You remind me of her. I don't know.
Are you giving him a southern accent?
Yeah, I guess. I don't
Southern
know.
United States, way to go, Caleb.
He came to the U.S. and was stranded in the South for years. He just had to see our success grow.
Daryl.
Yeah, Daryl. That's his name.
Well, congratulations to Limit Break Radio. That is a really good show, I have to say.
Yeah, I'm okay with them.
They've been
being
around
us.
for a long time. They started with Final Fantasy XI, and they had a podcast based around Final Fantasy XI. Then they stopped for a little while, and then when 14 2.0 came out, A Realm Reborn, they started up again. And they are well deserving of this award, I'd say.
Yeah.
And we certainly are going to, because of how we see these votes going, we're certainly going to be looking at Limit Break Radio and seeing what they do and seeing how they work and what we can add to our show based upon what they do.
Yeah, I mean, out of all of the nominees, they're the ones that I'm most okay with losing by.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Aetherite Radio though, because they were excited about the awards thing, and like they sent it out to their Twitter followers, and I'm like, oh cool, I wonder how that's going for them. I'm like, oh,
well, they're above.
They are above our pod. Yeah.
They are above our pod. Our pod died, mostly
Yeah.
because they're not around anymore.
Yeah, way to go.
Well, I'm not saying mostly. I'm sure
They
Aetherite
were around
Radio-
in 2014, so
That's true.
They are technically. I guess they qualify.
Thank you to all who voted, and congratulations once again to Limit Break Radio. You guys are a good show, and hope you guys continue.
Yeah.
And I hope we beat you next year
Yep. We will work on it.
on our own awards show.
I know. At first when we were talking about this idea, I was like, yeah, that's kind of dickish. I mean, it's our podcast. I mean, the people that are going to vote for us. And then this, and I was like, what? And then I was watching it along the way, and I was like, geez.
As soon as you let Limit Break know and they retweeted, it was like,
Yeah, we just started getting sucked dry of the votes, but that's cool. It's all right.
yeah, it's good. It's a good show. It doesn't sting as much as
Yeah,
if one of the other shows, not offending the other shows, but if the other shows would have won, I'd be like, they have a hidden audience I didn't know about that was disgusting.
yeah. The hidden army.
Yeah. But thank you. I would love one day to like have an arena podcast of like the hosts from every Final Fantasy show just like duke it out on something. I would love that.
Maybe. Oh, dude, it'd be sweet if
We could invite them all and be like, okay, we're going to have a Final Fantasy quiz show, and then that would be interesting. Like all of us over Skype or something.
I think it'd be sweet if we all met and did like a Mystery Science Theater style viewing of all Final Fantasy media. Just with like a bunch of us sitting at the chairs and just talking over the movie.
That would be interesting. So we do openly invite the other podcast hosts.
Yeah, you have to come to us though. I mean, we have Skype and stuff, obviously. But
We have a TeamSpeak channel. That's how we recorded the
Mecha Messiah.
Mecha Messiah episode,
Yeah.
yes.
That was pretty good. It's all right. We can do that.
We could.
But will they want to?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably
Maybe not after
Maybe
the
not.
impressions and whatnot. But
Maybe not Final Fantasy Union. I
Yeah,
might have burned a bridge
that's okay.
on accident.
There's a bridge to an island that no one wants to go to.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, everybody who voted on those. We do have 3, I believe, specialty awards to give out. Is that correct? Is it 3?
I think.
I think so too. There are no official nominees for these categories, but they are categories for our listeners. Unfortunately, we don't have any awards to give out for them, but a nice pat on the back, I believe, is deserved to the people who won.
Yeah, not an actual pat though, because
And there are a lot of honorable mentions, I would have
Yes.
to say. So the first category is Best Facebook User. So our best Facebook follower, basically, who was most active in liking certain posts or who commented. I don't think anybody commented. Well, a couple people have commented on our Facebook,
Yeah.
but then didn't like every post afterwards. But we have a very specific winner for that. Although we love every single one of our Facebook followers. Caleb, best Facebook user.
Jimmy Olbeck.
Jimmy Olbeck. Our friend Jimmy Olbeck.
Yes.
Who is who is a very generous individual, and we thank you, Jimmy Allback, for following us on Facebook and for doing everything else that you do, and we thank you specifically for that. And you're a great listener, and you don't even need to do half the stuff. Like the donations. He's one of our Patreon supporters. He likes every post that I put up on Facebook.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I just want to thank you, Jimmy Allback, for supporting us.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It means a lot to us. Helps the show a lot.
All right. So, best Twitter follower.
Ooh.
I think there's a clear winner on this.
Yeah.
Though we do love every single Twitter follower, once again.
Including the newest one, if you want to check out our recent followers. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, the profile picture.
Yeah. I was like, am I seeing that? And then I expanded. I'm like, yeah, I was.
All right.
Best Twitter follower would have to go to Void.
Void. A Green Mushroom.
Yes.
agreenmushroom.com, I believe, is his website.
Yeah, he's got a blog. Where
he is a fellow game reviewer, and he's been going through the Final Fantasies also. He's well ahead of us.
Yes.
And I think he might be done. Has he finished 13?
I don't know if he's finished 13
I don't know
or not.
either.
I haven't been active lately because of the holidays and whatnot.
Okay. Well, I just want to thank you, Void. We have read your reviews for the other Final Fantasy games, not 13 if it's already out. And it is interesting to compare your stuff with ours and how we felt about the game and you. And the fact that you have been giving us questions for the question segment since we started the question segment. I mean, we were afraid it was like this desolate field of no listener interaction at one point before the forums. And you were kind enough to send us questions each time so that we'd have something to say. So thank you very much, Void. Once again, you don't have to keep sending them. I mean, we were getting plenty of questions, but it's nice, though. It's nice to have interaction. And he was one of the first big interactors with us. I mean, Gage Klein was a good interactor, too. I'd say he'd probably be second for best Twitter follower. Because at the beginning, he was there a lot.
He was, and then he got his mug.
He's still in the forum every once in a while.
He got his mug, then he left. No, I'm kidding. That's all he wanted for us.
Oh, actually, there's 4 awards. We'll get to the last one.
So yeah, with Void, I mean, he's kind of sort of the catalyst to the user interaction. We were like, let's get a Twitter, and then it took forever to get decent following. Yeah. So I mean, he was really one of the first, and his site's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, we might clash as far as the Final Fantasies go, but it's kind of nice to see someone else's opinion on the games.
That's true. So check out his site. It's a good site.
Yeah,
good blog for
plays a lot
video
of
gamers.
Kind of a lot of games. He says he doesn't play very many, but he kind of does.
Yeah, it looks a lot more than I do.
Yeah, not me, but definitely Joe.
All right, Caleb. Our award. What's our next award? You remember? I do. Best forum user. Our sacred Final Fantasy, ultimafinalfantasy.boards.net.
So sacred that
or you can click through ultimafinalfantasy.com and find it. It was really hard to find a winner for this one, I'd say.
Yeah. Have we even found a definite
have.
winner? Okay.
We have found a definite winner. It just took a lot. It took all 3 hosts to decide who the winner should be. And there are some good honorable mentions here. Gammon Stark, for your humor.
For your humor and your gift, your little Christmas card you sent to us. And the little CD for Theater Rhythm, remixes.
Theater Rhythm.
Yeah. That was very appreciated, and it's just awesome that you would send that to us.
Mecha Messiah for his interactions as well as his Patreon support and being willing to be on the show with us. And I was trying to print off the stuff. What is it? The stuff for the car.
Oh, the bumper sticker?
Yeah, the bumper sticker, but the place was closed.
You will get that.
On the 5th, you will get it. I swear to God. We got to have our owns, too. So it's like...
I mean, Mecha Messiah is a great honorable mention also because he's willing to play games with us. I played Age of Empires 2 with the guy 2 nights ago, and it was sweet.
And he's been on our TeamSpeak channel if you want to check out what that is.
I mean, I still mercilessly slaughtered him, but that's kind of what you got to do.
Yeah, we played a long game of Civ 5 with him too, which I think we still need to finish.
We do.
Yes.
We do.
So, Mecha Messiah is a good honorable mention. I'd say Shinru is another great honorable mention. He always is willing to add things to the threads that are always interesting, and he's always very thorough. And it's nice seeing that on the podcast. And he's, of course, willing to, when I'm asking for information out there, he's almost the first one who does it.
Yeah, he's a quick responder for sure.
He's a quick responder. So, another honorable mention to Shinru. Some of our older forum members that we haven't seen in a while: Womble619, Batman, Sniper 912. Great forum members, and we miss them.
Yeah.
And then, of course, anybody, Light Sage. Now I know I'm missing people.
Gage
right
Klein.
now. Gage Klein. I feel like we got another one right now, but
we got Tokyo After Dark. It's a new one. He's been
Tokyo
posting a
After
lot.
Dark, that's
he's
right.
pretty.
That's
he's
right,
good.
yeah,
he shares our love for Thrash.
He's a new one. Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah, I'm glad someone does.
Anyway, I just want to thank all the forum members.
Yes,
for
you're all fantastic
for their support, and I hope they'll continue with us through Final Fantasy or through 2015, and hopefully the year of Final Fantasy 15, but probably not.
Yeah. That would be cool, though.
It would be nice. I hope it's December of 2015. That'd be nice.
That would be great.
But who is our overall winner, Caleb?
The overall winner for best forum dude. Or person, not dude.
Yeah, don't say dude. We have a couple female members.
We do.
On there.
It's gonna have to be Branny.
Branny.
Yep.
And why do you say Branny, Caleb?
Well, he's got a ton of posts for one. I enjoy his posts. He creates a lot of threads.
Yes.
And he posts in a lot of stuff. And although he is guilty of grinding, quote unquote, levels out in the forum, which is kind of funny because we have to do that in the games too. So it's, I don't know. I just really enjoy his posts.
Yes.
And he's interactive.
He always has a positive attitude. I feel like some of us on the forum kind of like, when there's something we don't like about the show or something, we'll get a little bit, kind of mean or something on the forum. Not too bad, though. This is a pretty nice forum to be in. It's nice and small right now, and it's good. But he always seems to have a positive attitude, which is really refreshing.
It is. I mean,
for online interaction.
Right. And when we bag on other Caleb too much, he's usually like, oh, I'll be nicer to him. And we're like, oh, we are in a way. But it's cool. It's like keeps us in checks. We're not as brutal as we should be to him.
All right. So you winners out there, we know who you are, and you know who you are. And we just want to thank you so much for listening, and we hope to see you in 2015. Our last category is Best iTunes Review. Now, we've had a lot of really good iTunes reviews. And our last contest, Gage Klein won. He got a mug out of it. And unfortunately, the winner of this contest will not be getting a mug since we just didn't start that podcast or that contest. And it would be unfair to the other people who put in reviews that maybe were a little shorter or maybe weren't as well thought out, although all reviews were good.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be fair to them to say there was another contest out. So there are certainly some good honorable mentions. I mean, Amerline 1's review was really nice.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Batman's review, Gage Klein review still holds up. It's one of the best ones here. But we have decided that our favorite review, although he's going to be winning 2 things tonight, our favorite review comes from Void. And Caleb, would you like to read this?
Yeah, just one
review.
second.
Okay, Caleb has to move through the room in order to read the review.
My eyesight is not that great, so. All right. Best Final Fantasy podcast. Not officially, but he says, I've been listening to this podcast since the beginning, and I figure it's finally time to give them a review. These guys are great. This is easily the best Final Fantasy podcast out there right now. Most other Final Fantasy podcasts either focus on the MMO Final Fantasy games or get so off topic that they might as well not be considered a Final Fantasy podcast. Not the case with Ultima Final Fantasy. They stay on topic and discuss the entire Final Fantasy series. They've started with the very first Final Fantasy game and are slowly playing their way through the entire series. Their review episodes tend to be the best, but every episode consistently has an interesting topic directly related to Final Fantasy. A word of warning. You might want to skip the early episodes that have fan fiction in the title. I didn't enjoy that segment, but it has since been taken out and put into its own separate podcast. This was based on listener feedback. Speaking of which, the hosts actually interact with their listeners. They ask for feedback, input, and questions and are constantly improving... Continually improving the podcast based on listener reactions. I can wholeheartedly recommend this podcast to any Final Fantasy fan.
Thank you very much, Void. And I just want to say thank you once again to every person who has put a review. And we are going to continue to read every new iTunes review that comes up. First off, it helps us out a lot, as you guys know, and as we've said many times. And second off, it gives us feedback. We get to know what you guys like about the show, hopefully, and hopefully we don't have to hear what you dislike.
Yeah. Hopefully we've scared that away. No, it's good to have constructive criticism. I mean, it's
but give it to us in an email.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. It's fine.
No, we don't read emails on the show, though. I'll just be like, well, screw that. Just delete it.
Anyway, so since we are treating this as a normal episode, we're going to do the question segment next. But thank you guys so much for listening to the UFF Podcast Awards. Congratulations to the winners. And let's hope that this next year will be one of our best.
Yes, agreed. Alright, so just a heads up, we're not going to be answering any of the Final Fantasy VIII questions that have been posted this week.
They know that. I gave them all messages saying, ask the Final Fantasy VIII questions, and we'll answer them next week.
Yeah, so just letting you guys know.
Yeah, we're going to... He just flipped me off for cutting him off.
No, it's not that. It's like, initially you're like, I'll announce the 8 stuff. I'm like, oh, I can do it. And then you're like, oh, well, yeah, we already said that, so shut up.
What? And we got Caleb Craig here with us.
What's up, guys?
We're going to try to answer all of the non-Final Fantasy VIII questions, just to make it a little clearer for next week. If you guys haven't already heard, get on the forum, ask us your Final Fantasy VIII questions, so that next week when we do the Final Fantasy VIII review, there's your announcement, you can, it'll be a question segment, but it will be Final Fantasy VIII related only.
Yeah, we'll have a nice treat for you.
Yeah. So Caleb, let's get this top question here. This is from Schnitzel Time, who is a white mage. He says, I think FF6 was the first game to have any type of limit break in it, but that is also the earliest one that I've played, so I can't be positive. I have a 2-part question about limit breaks. 1, what game, according to us, has the best utilization of limit breaks? He says, I'm currently playing through FF9 again, and one of the few things I hate about this game is trance. It almost always fills up right at the end of the battle before I even get a turn, or during the battle, Beatrix, that I can't win anyway. Final Fantasy VII was fairly balanced in my opinion, even though some of the actual limits were ridiculously overpowered. More of that later. 8's was also abusable, made the already broken game way too easy. I was one of the few crazy people that got Lionheart on Disc 1. You card player, you.
Yeah.
Activating it against Cypher at the end of Disc 1 was a bit of an overkill. 9's is terrible, like I said. My vote for most balanced limit break is FF10. You can customize how the gauge fills up, and the only one that is actually cheap is Wakka's attack reels, and you aren't forced into using it as soon as you get in it, like FF9. 12's quickenings were useful initially, but they take way too much time to build up a chain. And I was never a fan of them being tied to your MP gauge. 13 didn't have them per se, mostly because of the special moves like Army of One weren't really limit breaks.
Want me to read the second part?
Let's answer the first question. Caleb Schweiss, what do you think?
Well, I'm going to agree with you on Final Fantasy X. That's one of the things that I've been talking to Craig about that I'm excited about with 10 because of all these other games, limit breaks. I'm like, it's almost sweet. But with 8, like they have to be low health and I have to mash circle to get it. I'm like, just give me the limit break every time. But with 10, it's kind of cool because, like you said, you can customize how you get it. So if you have a guy it has a lot of speed like Titus, you can get his to where it's based on his attacks. And if you've got
many times you've attacked?
Yeah, and if you've got someone that's tanky and going to be doing taunts and whatnot, at least I believe you can do a taunt kind of move in 10.
I'm sure. It's been a while.
There's probably something. I can't remember. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
But you can basically customize it on each character and you get the limit breaks that way. And I like that. I think that's a great system that combines 7 with kind of a little more customization. So I would go with 10 as well.
Was Titus's limit break the one where you like hit the middle and you would try to get a perfect, like as the slider would go back and forth?
There's one of them that does that. There's numerous limit breaks.
I thought that
for
was
him.
Titus's.
I think it is.
Okay, Caleb, what do you think? Other Caleb.
I kind of like that too in 10. The little bit I played of it, although I do like 9s with the trance. I like the trance.
You like the trance?
Yeah, it's lasts for a few turns. All your moves and stuff get really powerful. It feels like that is the limit instead of just a sweet move.
Huh.
Like I think that's more what it should be. Although I did really like 7s.
Yeah, I think 7s was a good balanced one too.
Yeah, the only issue with 7s, and according to he thinks it's an issue too, is that once you get the limit, it kind of takes away your ability to regular attack.
Yes.
But you could still use magic, so you can avoid it in a way. So yeah. So you would say 10 and 7? Or which one do you like more? Or 9 and 7, sorry, not 10.
Probably like 9 and 7.
9 and 7?
That's fine. You can have both.
All right. Well, I liked 7s, some parts of it. I don't like Vincent's. I really wish, that you could just regular attack instead of choosing Vincent's limit break.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was sick. And 6s are awesome, but they're kind of random.
It's just a critical
when
thing.
exactly they're going to happen. Although when they do it, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And then 9's trance, I remember that being pretty good and useful, and you'd like go into other battles and try to build it up if you're stuck on a boss or something like that. Wait, maybe I'm thinking. Maybe I'm confused.
No, you can build it up.
Okay. I can't remember.
You can save it for like another battle.
How you build it up for another thing. Anyway.
More on that
Final
soon.
Fantasy VIII is probably my favorite. Although it does make a cheap game even cheaper, I guess, as Schnitzel Time. That name. As Schnitzel Time says, I don't think that the limit breaks by itself in Final Fantasy VIII are a broken system. There's other things that are broken already in that Final Fantasy VIII. I don't think it's broken at all. I love the ability that you can utilize the limit breaks by casting aura on yourself, and so you have a higher chance of getting the limit breaks, and that every single character, and they do this in the other games, has their own unique limit breaks. And personally, I love Renzoken from Squall. I just love that limit break. You can have it on auto, but you can do the trigger, commands for the fights, and it adds a kind of a funness to it. Plus, like, you always know you're always trying to, like, if you have a really high health guy, you get it down to 10%, and that's when you're going to be getting Renzoken a lot, and that's how you can take care of someone. I mean, like, being able to manipulate that, I find one of the funner aspects of Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah, I would agree with you there.
Yeah, I like that too with the when they have lower health, and it feels like a last ditch effort.
Well, it could be that way if you were a higher level, certainly.
Well, I watched Caleb be like low level and low health trying to fight Tonberries and just like abuse that, but then the Tonberry would just like everyone's grudge him to death.
Yeah.
Every time, and then he would have to like waste revives on him.
Yeah, I enjoyed that too in 8, but I didn't like it as much, I don't think. I like it building up, a kind of a steady build up, because even if you're patching yourself up in a fight, it makes sense that you're going to get angrier and angrier and do like your, just like go berserk on somebody, even if you're not necessarily almost dead. But it is kind of cool as like a last ditch attack before you go out. So 8's isn't bad. Okay. And I could abuse the hell out of it, so it was beautiful.
So, do you want to read the second part of his question, Caleb?
Yeah, I'll read it.
Okay.
It says, my second part is the best limit break from each game, in our opinion. Here's what he thinks. 6, I only remember Terras being useful, and I could be wrong, I think they were really rare in this game, so I never saw half of them. Terra's not so much a limit break, just an ability, more or less, because you could just transform into her other form. But in a way, it's kind of the beginning stages.
You can do that anyway.
You can, yeah.
Okay.
You don't have to be low. That's what I'm saying.
All right.
It is kind of.
I don't think that's really a.
Basically, dude, in 6, it was just the last, like when they're low health, they can randomly do a ton of damage.
Low health, yeah, a ton of damage. Like, I think everybody had that.
Yeah,
I don't think
had.
it was specific to each character.
All right, so
all of them in 6.
Yeah, 7, Omni Slash, obviously, followed by High Wind for me. You guys love Vincent's limit breaks, but I don't like being unable to control him. So in Endgame, I can't agree with that. I agree with you.
I agree with you too, except that most of the time it's useful.
Yeah, I never really used him, so I liked High Wind a lot.
And I used Vincent for magic when I was fighting the bosses. So.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
All right. He says 8, it depends on the playthrough for this one. A lot of people love Quistis's Degenerator for removing enemies, and she also has Shockwave Pulsar to break the damage limit, but that's not
let's
too
go through
useful.
it while he's doing this. What's your favorite Final Fantasy VII limit break?
Omni Slash.
Omni Slash?
Yeah,
I like Meteor Rain.
Rain?
That one was sweet.
I like Meteor Rain too. I think I just like Tifa's. Like being able to time the hits.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's the most simple one, but I think it's one that I really enjoy.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So what did he say about? Okay, she also has Shockwave Pulsar to break the damage limit, but that's not too useful. Lionheart is amazing, but the chances of that activating are like 25% or something. Zells are abusable if you're fast, but those take quite a long time.
Yeah, that's why I didn't like Zells.
Yeah. For 8, what do you guys think?
Rinzoken.
I really liked Renoa's after you save her from space.
Anal cannon?
No. She turns into an angel, and then she gets like badass level spells that are like 5 times more powerful than normal, and she can kill people with Demi.
Yeah, well, she also cast Ultima for free. She just randomly cast it once I turned her into an angel. So that one was pretty cool, but I still like Squalls.
I think my favorite one, the most useful one, is Selfies. Because you can just keep retrying it and get a new spell that she'll cast on everybody. And full cure, super useful. So you just keep pressing the back button until you get full cure, and then during a boss fight, Selfie's limit break is extremely useful.
That's only useful if you have it on wait.
Which I do.
I don't play on wait.
I play on wait.
I play it realistically to some extent. Even though it doesn't matter because it's a video game. But
it doesn't matter. And
I always forget to change.
It's automatically on wait.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes,
it doesn't wait.
It's automatically on wait.
On Final Fantasy VIII, it's automatically on wait.
Not on the PlayStation version. I didn't change.
On the PlayStation version. I've played that game many times.
Dude, it's always on wait. You have to change it.
I didn't change it.
You gotta change it to active. Then it's on wait.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's when I press circle that sometimes
even when you're pressing back, yeah, they can still attack you, but it doesn't take that long to get to the full cure.
Yeah, I guess. I never used her.
All right, what does he say about 9?
He says, this is a hard one for me. Quina and Dagger are out. Amaranth might be the best because he can target everyone with his flare in trance mode. I would easily say Amaranth, followed by Freya's jump. I have nothing to say about the limit breaks in 9. I do not remember basically anything from Final Fantasy IX, so I'm out.
I don't remember anything either. As far as their trance is concerned, I remember it like you can do it for a few turns and it was useful, but I can't really remember anything past that. Zidane's was just high damage, wasn't he?
Pretty much.
That's probably the one that I use the most then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the one I liked from 9.
Okay.
Although I do like Freya a lot.
All right, so he says for 10, everybody would say attack reels unless they're just awful at blitzball, I would think. Blitz Ace is a little more fair and it looks pretty sweet. Pretty much any limit break that isn't Kamari's or Lulu's can be really good in this game. I have something to say about that. Yuna's probably would only be up there if you were playing international version where Anima's Oblivion is a multi-hit move. All right, so for 10, Kamari can be fucking insane if you get the right abilities on him. Like, he has some of the most powerful attacks in the game. I don't know where to get him, but someone mentioned it at work, and I looked it up, and Kamari can do sickening amounts of damage. But, I mean, he's one of those ones, he's basically an enemy skill. You have to learn you guys remember. You learn the enemy's attacks. So it depends on when you get it. But for 10, oh, man. I might have to go with Orin's. I really liked Orin's attacks. He just takes a big old swig from his jug and just like goes to town on people. I don't really have a favorite move because I don't remember what they're called, but I like Orin's. I like his attacks from what I remember. What about you?
I like the timing of Titus's. I think his was the one with the as I said, it was the back and forth. I was just really good at timing it, so I'd always get it perfect. I think that was Titus's.
I think so.
I'm not sure which overdrive ability it was, but that's the one I preferred just simply because
it was easy.
Because I could do it really easily. I remember Oron's being useful, but like they would switch up the button things.
Yeah, it was kind of like
and
that.
So I was like on my feet, and I hate doing that. I hate fucking like
button mashing.
Those timed attack things with like, you know, Resident Evil 4 where it's like press these 2 random buttons and to get out of the way when the boulder comes down, you know, shit like that I hate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's supposed to be like makes it more of an exciting experience, I guess, but I personally hate those kind of things. So his and then Zell's, although Zell's is really predictable and easy.
Yeah, they're always the same.
Yeah, I don't really care for those. I mean, they're still cool attacks, but actually doing them in game, frustrating.
I like doing them in game because I can get really good at them.
I just liked Arin's a lot. Arin's like my favorite character in that game, aside from Kimari. I really like that guy.
Completely disagree with me. I see.
You like Kimari more than Orin?
No, I say I like them both.
Oh, okay.
And said Orin
They're
was
like my
favorite.
2 favorite.
You said you like him more than anybody except for Kimari. That's what that means. But then you...
Well, that means that they're like on the same level.
We get it. All right. So this next question is called Seasonal Game Cravings. This is from Void, who is a samurai with Giltos. For some reason, when the leaves start to fall in autumn, I always crave an RPG, he says. I actively seek one out. This happens without fail every fall. The same type of thing happens to me around Christmas and New Year's, except I want to play a Mario game. I think this may be tied to the times of the year I played these types of games as a kid. I have lots of memories of playing RPGs in the fall, and I have a super strong memory of getting my Super NES and playing the Super Mario World for Christmas. I'm pretty sure these are what influence these feelings. So do you guys have any games or game genre that you crave at different times of the year? Does the holiday season have any strong gaming memories for you? This is an interesting question.
During winter times, I mostly play Legend of Zelda and Mario, just because, like, around Christmas, that's usually what I would get, like, on my Super Nintendo. It's like Link to the Past and Super Mario World, so I don't know, always played those.
Oh, Schweiss, you got an answer for this?
I play Resident Evil Outbreak every Halloween.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do. I've played a match of it for like the last 4 years. I enjoy the game. I mean, the loading time is horrendous, okay? Like, I open a door and it's like 5 seconds to get in the room. So it's a chore, but it's something that I started when I lived with my grandparents like 4 or 5 years ago, like I said, and I've just kind of stuck with it every Halloween. I just get into the mood for a puzzle-based horror game, I guess.
Okay.
That's probably about it.
As far as I'm concerned, I'd say that it's not necessarily seasonal, But at the beginning of every semester, pre this podcast, I'd probably get into a Final Fantasy around then, or some kind of RPG. Also, like Fable. I'd always start them at the beginning of the semester, and then as the semester got harder and harder, I'd play the game less and less. That has been my pattern for the last couple years. Besides that, I don't really see any pattern, except that, when League of Legends when we were playing that every other day, we'd play that every other day, and then, whatever we're playing at the time is what we're playing. I don't really see anything seasonal about it, except maybe we'd have more free time in the summer, simply because I usually have school off in the summer.
Okay, so you don't have like a...
The more free time I have, the more I'll play video games.
Right, but it's more of just whatever everyone else is playing, as opposed to a real craving.
Usually, except for Final Fantasy. I mean, I started a Final Fantasy podcast because that's what I play.
Yeah, well, that's what we play, obviously.
So, now we're playing them all the time.
It's true. It takes up a lot of the time for gaming.
It does.
Although I did beat Dishonored recently, so it doesn't take up that much time.
All right, so what should we pick as our next question here? Favorite summon, Caleb?
We could do that one.
Okay, let's do that one. You want to read it? Schnitzel time.
Yeah.
Are you pulling it up?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up.
Okay. It's like there's too much silence.
All
on
right,
the show.
This is from Schnitzel Time, a white mage on the forums. He says, one more question for you guys. What's your favorite summon in Final Fantasy? It could be recurring like Bahamut or something like Anima. If possible, say if there was one particular game that the summon was in that you liked it the most in. Only applicable with Shiva, Ifrit, Leviathan, etc. My favorite summon has got to be Anima in Final Fantasy X, especially in the international version. She is just amazing. The Mage's Sisters could be better, I suppose, but I like full control of my summon, and Anima makes one of the coolest first appearances in the Blitz Stadium. That is true. Second would probably be Doom Train in Final Fantasy VIII. I think it's probably the only actually useful summon in that game. Idea can break Eden, not Idea, jeez. Can break the damage limit, I suppose.
A little bit different.
Yeah, very much so. But even then, I never saw it do more than 35,000 boosted, which takes like 4 minutes to do anyway. That's a lot of damage, man. 35k? You're like, meh, a mere 35,000. No, but, let's see, favorite summon? Overall, the games, I've always had just a special connection with Ifrit for some reason.
Just your anger?
Maybe. No, him in Final Fantasy VII, where he just comes out and he does a little roar thing, and then he goes at him. That's really sweet.
Okay.
I just have always liked Ifrit. And, I mean, Bahamut's awesome, too, but...
Yeah. I really liked Alexander. He's pretty sweet. Like, his castle...
Which one? Which game? Is he only in 8?
No, he's in a few games. He's in 8.
6.
6. 9.
Okay, never mind. I'm just stupid.
13. He's in a few of them.
All right.
Let's just
I've never been a real summon guy myself, so I would like. There's many summons that I haven't even summoned in these games, even though I've gotten them.
Yeah, they've become less and less useful.
Yeah.
Like, well, 6s weren't that useful, and 7s I felt were.
I don't think any of the games, they were that useful, except for maybe 7s.
Yeah, 7s were well balanced, but, like, and 10 was nice, because you could pull them in and, like, have them be a meat shield for your characters for a little while. But...
Oh, that's true.
That's kind of cruel, you know what I mean?
That's true.
But 8, I agree with him on 8. Like, I use the
10s.
summon in 8, and I'm like, God, they don't do anything.
I do like when the summons play a part in the story. Like, Bahamut was a big part of the story in a few games, and I think in 9 he was too. Like, him and Alexander fought over, like, the castle at one point, and Alexander totally wins, because he's awesome.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, and then, like, in, there are parts in 4 and 5 where the summons are part of the story.
6 was a big part.
Yeah.
6 too, but remember when they were getting turned into crystals, the summons, they would like sacrifice themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was them doing that.
Yeah.
My favorite summon is probably Carbuncle in either Final Fantasy VIII or Final Fantasy, I think, 6 or 5. Can't remember which one he was super useful in.
5.
Was it 5?
I think so.
Because just the Carbuncle stuff protecting my party, and then I would cast Haste, and I would cast the Golem guy.
Yeah, Golem, it was 5 then, yeah.
And then, it was 5 then.
And then
I'd cast Carbuncle, and Carbuncle, like, all those things protecting me. I think protection spells from summons are much more useful than damage, necessarily. Yeah. Even though Bahamut did some good damage to the final boss of Final Fantasy V. Not enough, unfortunately. Even though I had been told otherwise, but you have to level up your summoner all the way, which I did not. And Phoenix. Phoenix is also a really good summon.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I'd have to say the most useful with the Reflect and the Protect, Carbuncle.
Okay. Yeah. I don't like Carbuncle as much because I rely on spells normally to heal myself, and the Reflect really screws that. But in those big battles where you know it's going to be an all-out assault, I agree with you. In 5, that's how you got through it. Those two dudes, so...
Okay, so our next question here is from Tokyo After Dark. He's a samurai.
Already?
With Guild Toss.
Man.
Super useful in Final Fantasy V.
It's true.
Playable NPC? Question mark. What NPC or non-playable character, I believe is what that stands for.
Yes.
Would you like to have played as part of your party? His example is being able to play as Zack in Final Fantasy VII. Crisis Core. Just kidding.
Yeah.
I don't know. Playable NPCs. Is there one that sticks out to you guys that you would like to have been able to play?
I don't know. I kind of liked Princess Olivia in Final Fantasy Tactics. She has a spell called Aegis, or Aegis, I think.
It's probably Aegis. Yes.
Probably. Yeah, anyway.
It'd be 2 Gs if it was Aegis.
Yeah, anyway, so that spell like casts Haste, Protect, Shell, Reflect, Re-Raise, like basically, and Regen, like basically every helpful spell that you could possibly have. It's just a spell that just casts it on your guy. And she can and float, and so she just goes everywhere.
Float! Yeah. Final Fantasy VIII reference.
Yeah.
Float.
I think having Seifer in your party in 8 would have been sweet too.
Who would run out of an abandoned tomb and just yell float?
Those girls from 8?
Well, they wouldn't have come out yelling float unless they had actually defeated the brothers and knew that float
or perhaps
was how you got rid of them.
Or perhaps they were allowed to run away, unlike us.
Pass the message on.
Maybe, yeah. Float! Yeah, but they were just saying float. They didn't, stop you guys, your guys, and be like,
float.
Float.
Maybe they were,
float.
Maybe they were simple. And, they had just heard somebody scream it out as they were getting slaughtered by the brothers.
Maybe.
It's ridiculous. Plus, you would then have to assume also that they had GFs, because in order to junction magic, you have to have a GF.
Yeah.
Yeah, they probably do.
Everyone has GFs, it's fine.
Yeah, it's just the school uses them, and they're getting crap for using them, remember?
Yeah, the GF critics.
The GF critics. I thought that was a funny line.
Stupid.
What NPC would you like to play, Schweiss, did you say?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Well, I think it'd be sweet to play as Sephiroth. He's kind of an NPC.
Asshole, that's what I was going to say.
You do have a fight with him, but you don't actually get to control the guy.
That's true. He does so much damage, too, compared to what you are at that time.
Yeah, but then later you're like, that was nothing. I was better than you 5 years ago. I think he would be sweet, and I don't know. I think it'd be kind of cool to play as Jacked, just to see how similar he was to Titus.
The Final Fantasy X prequel. Yeah. Story of Jet.
That would be kind of cool.
Jacked.
I don't know. Yeah, I'd probably go with those two. Or maybe,
Auron, because he's always
well, Auron would be in the party.
Somebody else's
Auron's
story.
Yeah.
That's true.
No,
Now this is my story.
Judge Gabrant from 12 would be cool. Like Bosch's twin brother.
I feel like Tinus's voice is very similar to Dave Mustaine's, just a little bit.
Kinda, it's kind of higher. But yeah, Judge Gabranth would be
Listen to my
sweet.
story.
Shut the fuck up! I'm trying to say something.
Maybe our last. Sorry.
You want me to answer or no?
Yes, answer. Sorry.
Judge Gabranth, you fuck. Bosch's twin brother. The guy who actually killed the king. Spoiler. Although...
Kill the king.
Yeah.
King is dead.
More
now live
Megadeth.
the
It's always Megadeth.
Sorry, man. I've been listening to so much Megadeth for the last month. it's kind of sad, but
It's taking over.
Yeah, those would
It
be
is.
fun. What about you, Joe?
like I've had not enough time. Like Metallica's just doing nothing. They're just touring over and over again, and they're like, maybe an album this year, maybe not. That's what they've been saying for like 4 years.
Yeah.
So I had to switch over to Megadeth just because my favorite band, Metallica, they just don't want to do anything. It's just hurting. So I'm like, I want more, and so I went the way of Dave Mustaine. Non-playable character. I was gonna answer Sephiroth, but honestly, I would also like to play Seymour from Final Fantasy X with all of his abilities and all 4 of the fights. That would be sweet, and you would win the game quickly.
Yeah, you want to play as Antler Man?
I do want to play as Antler Man.
Nice.
His like quiet voice.
Yeah.
Yes, you know.
I am behind you now. All right, so we have one last question.
All right.
It is titled Digital versus Physical, and it comes from Void.
Are we talking about porn or?
Let's
Well, I
find
guess
out.
physical porn would not be porn.
No, I
Unless
mean,
you
you
were
could have
really
like a
detached from reality.
you could have like a physical copy. Anyway, it says, do you guys prefer to buy your games digitally or physically? Last gen, I was still buying physical games, but this generation, I haven't bought any. I've moved on to all digital, and I love it. My entire library of games on 3DS, PS Vita, PS4, and PC are all digital. It makes it so convenient to always have games on the system and never have to switch discs or carts. It also means I never have to fight a midnight release crowd. I can just download new games at midnight. Many of them even preload now and are unlocked the second the clock hits midnight. I also know I can always delete a game and re-download it later. If you scratch a disc or break a cartridge, you have to go track down and purchase a new copy of the game. I could extol the virtues of digital games for much longer. What about God? But what about you guys? Which do you prefer and why? I already answered it.
Why? You already well, this is the podcast.
I know, but I already read it too, so I'm not going to answer it.
Caleb, Craig.
I tend to like both. I like physical copies of my favorite games, but as far as just in general, I really like the downloadable stuff because it is easier, and I play a lot of games on Steam, which you get all downloadable and are super cheap. Downloadable games are always cheaper than the physical copies.
Except for new release.
Yeah, well, then they tend to be like the same. And then there's like sales faster on those than there are on the physical copies, so they do still tend to be cheaper.
I guess I'll be the odd one out here and say that I prefer physical copies 100%. And I wish there never were digital copies. Personally, I like putting in the discs. It makes you feel like you're going to go through some kind of experience. Maybe it's not necessarily necessary to enjoy the game. And I certainly like being able to download games that, PlayStation Network has put up, or assuming it works, or that Steam has put up that maybe it's hard or expensive to come across a physical copy of the game. I do like that. But if I'm just buying a game, any game, I would much prefer a physical copy. And I'm super disappointed when you just get the physical copy and it's like kind of a crack just to download the game.
Yeah, I know.
And
what
then
you
you
mean.
still have to download Steam or whatever in order to get it. Okay. That's a joke. That's ridiculous. But yeah, I like looking through my old PC games and my old PlayStation 2 or Xbox or... I like having the physical copy. It makes you feel like you're owning something instead of just a digital agreement that as long as Steam, doesn't go into bankruptcy and fails as a company, you'll own the game. But I'd rather own it physically and just, as we go further down the line, as there have been with the Super NES games and with the regular NES games, there's like emulators for those, but they're like physical. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Sooner down the line, I'm sure we'll have PlayStation 2 versions of those and whatever. So we'll always have something to play it on, I feel.
Okay, well, I kind of like both too. It kind of depends on the game, really. If it's a game like Final Fantasy, I like to have all of them physical copies. I feel like there's something that I part of me is a collector, and part of me is a player. So the part that is a collector, I want the physical copy. I want the booklet in there. I want it to be non-greatest hits. I'm really anal about it. Now, I do have a few games that I don't have the greatest hits copy, or I have greatest hits copies for, and I'm missing booklets because of certain individuals that I loaned them to. But I kind of prefer that. It does depend, though, because I do buy a lot of games on Steam, and I just do what I want, man. Like I have certain ones I want to collect, like the Resident Evil games. I'd rather have those as a physical game. One, because I kind of have to. They're not on Steam, except for 4. And 2, I like having the copies of it. I like the artwork. I like having the booklets. I do like putting the discs in.
I have the same argument for CDs also.
I like
know most
CDs.
people. I think most people have moved on to digital music. I mean, you can see it in music sales, but I'm still the guy. I've never bought a digital album.
Neither have I.
I always buy them. I always go out and buy it, or
I've bought singles. I've only bought one single. I had like a free 10 download thing, and then I've gotten free downloads periodically from Amazon for rating products.
Same thing for movies too. I would never just buy something off of Vudu.
No, that's weird. That's weird that we're kind of that way, but we'll still buy stuff on Steam. It's like, I don't want a CD that's not a CD. That's dumb to me. Or a movie in the same way. I don't like when Cameron buys stuff.
But if they came out with a physical copy of the Steam version of 7 or 8 of Final Fantasy for the same price, I would have bought it.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have just got it on PlayStation, which I did.
Well, I have them on PlayStation
also. There's no
also.
reason to have a physical copy if you already have
a physical copy to put into the computer, and then it's one of those games where you don't have to put the discs in. That's what I would like. Most PC games are like that, and they've slowly been getting to that point.
Yeah. It is weird how with media it's different. Like for games, I don't mind downloading them, but with CDs, I'm the same way. I'm like, why would you ever buy a full album on iTunes? Like, it's just weird.
They want half the quality is what they want.
Yeah, I want the
They want the cymbals to sound like that.
Well, I mean,
the
and
drum
it's
set.
if we were truly into quality, we would get records because they sound amazing.
Warmer. That's true.
But it's too expensive, really.
They do actually have they are higher quality in some ways.
Yeah.
The records. So it does make sense to me. And they've been going through this thing where you can get records for like new stuff that's out. It'll add warmth to the sound. Although because they record it digitally, it's not going to actually add any quality. It's still going to be compressed in some way.
Plus it's expensive to upkeep that. Like with CDs, it's easy. You throw them on your computer, and no matter what happens to the CD, you're good. Which is where it becomes digital in a way.
Yeah, that's true.
But I love having the artwork. I like seeing the lyrics or the little fill this out. What other Square games do you have? Things.
Have you ever put those in?
I put them in, but I've never sent one in.
Okay.
I don't know if they
you filled one out.
I filled one out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I meant sent it. Okay, well, this episode is getting pretty long, and we have now answered all the non-FF8 questions on our forum. So thank you very much for listening, and thank you for voting. Thank you for giving us your questions. Go give us some more FF8 questions. It'll be a nice, long, girthy episode next week. And just want to say, once again, thank you. Visit us at ultimafinalfantasy.com. You can click on our forum there, join our forum, join the discussions.
Yeah, there's some really good discussions going on, and we've got a lot of really good active members, so it's a lot of fun.
All right. We will see you guys next week.
Yeah, enjoy the grind.
This has been another production of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast. The show was produced by Joseph DeGollier and Caleb Schweiss, with music and editing by Joseph DeGollier, parodies and clips from their respective authors, of course. You can get all of our episodes as well as our Let's Plays at ultimafinalfantasy.com. You can also contact us on Twitter at UFF Podcast, as well as our contact page on our website. Be sure to subscribe and review our podcast. Your reviews may get read on the show, and look forward to the next episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast.